to Let's Chat, the Tennessee Valley's premier show focusing on lifestyle and entertainment with Jess Raby and Chip Chapman, bringing you smart shopping tips, community events, and the newest trends. Now, let's chat.
Good morning and welcome to Let's Chat. Today is Friday, August 21st, and we are diving straight into the great interviews this morning. Of course, we are used to the Chattery offering several classes throughout the weeks, and they are no exception to the new virtual learning trend. Here to give us a preview of some virtual classes that we can take part in very soon is Miss Kaleena. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Jess. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here again.
All right, so the classic cocktail classes, the mixology classes that you've talked about and shared with us before have moved online.
They have. It has been quite a transition for sure. I think actually I spoke with you right before everything happened where we were doing a classic cocktail or a Irish whiskey St. Patrick's Day cocktail class. And then pretty much right after that we moved straight online. So it's a little bit different. Obviously, you're in my kitchen, which is nice because I tend to have everything I need right here. But it's a little bit, more challenging because we're not quite able to serve the drinks to be. Obviously, we're not able to serve the drinks to people the way that we are when we do in-person classes. So that was a challenge that we kind of had to overcome, and that we've kind of transitioned into fixing that problem with these classic cocktail classes because we do a cocktail kit that accompanies them, which makes it easier for people to make them at home.
Right, you've definitely tried to make it as easy as possible for those of us to still enjoy at home, still make it a great date night, a great friends night by including the kit option. So talk us through what we need to be prepared with. Do we need any special equipment, or how should we be prepared to do one of these virtual classes?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a lot of times when we're making things at home, you think in a bartender world, you need to have, a cocktail shaker and a jigger to measure all your ingredients. And what I like to tell people is, when you're at home, especially as a home bartender, we don't really need all of these things. The things that are important to have is if you have a mason jar, I use that as a shaking tin all the time in my demonstrations, especially at class. I feel like everybody has mason jars probably stacked in their cupboards. So that's pretty easy. If you don't have a way to measure your ingredients very easily, we can also transition that into teaspoons and tablespoons, which we all have something like that on hand. And then obviously the things that we can't include in the cocktail kits are going to be the things like the alcohol. My gin has eyes on it, as it was a friend of mine during quarantine, so I gave it a personality. But, the alcohol are things that we can't really ship or send to people. But we do include in all of our cocktail kits the non-perishable things. Sometimes I do throw in, citrus, which is important if I'm going to be making local deliveries or I'm not too worried about the length and the transition of the shipping. But then we also include sample-sized bottles of our bitters, which is really awesome. This is a 4-ounce bottle. We sell them, or we send them in 1-ounce bottles to accompany the cocktail kit. So you'll get sugar, you'll get, sometimes your citrus. And the only thing that you need to do to show up for the class is have a mason jar, a measuring utensil, and your alcohol, and you're pretty much set and ready to go.
What is a bitter, and how does that affect our cocktails?
Thank you. That's a great question. Something I love to talk about. Bitters are kind of what I like to call the vanilla extract of the beverage industry. It's basically a concentrated extract that's used for seasoning. So the same way that you would add salt and pepper to a dish, when you add bitters in these different flavor profiles, they're very strong and pronounced, and they change kind of the landscape about how you taste a drink. So bitters are kind of a bartender's secret ingredient. We like to add it, it's just a little bit. You only add a couple drops or a dash to a drink and it completely transforms it. But the flavor profiles and what you get out of them are really extraordinary. And it's something I teach a lot of actually just bitters classes on their own because I could talk on and on about them.
Yeah, and you're going to dive into a lot more of this detail in that class also. Now, do
Absolutely.
you have a very quick cocktail recipe that you are going to demonstrate for us this morning?
Yeah, so we're going to kind of walk through a very simple cocktail that we are going to be doing in the class this week, which is just going to be a really simple Tom Collins recipe. Have you ever had a Tom Collins before?
I don't think so. Take it away.
Yeah, so a Tom Collins is just a very, very simple classic cocktail recipe, but to me, I really love it because it is incredibly refreshing. It's perfect for, a summer day, which we're all kind of in the throes of right now here in Tennessee. So what you're going to need is you're going to need 2 ounces of gin. Typically when you're working with a Tom Collins, you kind of want to go with a London dry gin, but also while we're all stuck at home, whatever gin you have is the best gin to use for this recipe. You're going to need 1 ounce of fresh lemon juice. So if you have a lemon, that's perfect. 1 lemon should yield you about 1 ounce to 1.5 ounces of lemon juice. So you're solid there. If you don't happen to have a lemon on hand, then any of the preserved lemon juice that you might have in your fridge, it's not exactly perfect for this. It's going to be a bit more tart, but if that's all that you have on hand and that's what you want to use for this, I would just scale back a little bit. So maybe we'll go with 1/4 ounce or 3/4 ounce on that. And then we're going to add 1/2 ounce of simple syrup, which is just sugar and water. And we'll kind of walk you through a step-by-step on how to do that as well. You can use a tea kettle, just fill a cup halfway with some sugar, whatever sugar you have on hand will work. And then cover it with some hot water, stir it till it's diluted, and allow it to get to room temperature, and you'll be fine with that. From there, this is just incredibly simple. So you're going to add your 2 ounces of gin to your shaking vessel, whatever that may be, if it's a shaking tin or a mason jar. Then you're going to add your 1 ounce of lemon juice, and then your 1/2 ounce of simple syrup to the shaking tin. Give it a quick shake, strain it into a glass, and then you're going to fill that glass with ice and top it off with some soda water. Give it a nice stir so we're sure everything's nice and married together. And then you're going to garnish it with a lemon wheel and a cocktail cherry. If you have a maraschino cherry, that'll do. My favorite are Luxardo cherries, though.
All right, Kaleena, thanks so much for joining us. I'm so happy you're continuing
Thank
your
you,
educational
Jess.
series and your fun series online. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much.